Goku could fall into a genjutsu from Itachi? A genjutsu is created when a ninja encodes a medium that comes into contact with the nervous system of the person to control their mind through the five senses. What the ninja has to do is choose one of these senses and then choose a medium to apply the illusion. You chose hearing? Okay. So the medium to apply the genjutsu will be sounds. For example, Tayuya uses her flute to make a sound that puts the person under genjutsu. What she is doing there is encoding the message of the genjutsu into sound waves that propagate through the environment until they reach the sensory system responsible for capturing the vibrations of sound. This genjutsu, decoded into sound waves, reaches the mind, which interprets the meaning of the nerve signals. That is what makes you fall into a genjutsu from the five senses, and if you have one of the senses, that's it. People can throw genjutsu at you. There is no immunity to genjutsu. Well, there is if you don't have the senses. If you're blind and someone tries to trap you in a visual illusion, it won't work. If you're deaf, the same goes for auditory genjutsu. Some animals, like insects, don't have a prosencephalic structure and fall into illusions anyway. You only don't fall into genjutsu if you don't have one of the senses or if you block the medium through which the genjutsu is launched, like putting your headphones on playing Linkin Park at full volume so you don't hear anything. It doesn't help at all to be the master of the galaxy like Goku, because even people who are specialists in genjutsu still fall into genjutsu. Itachi, for example, fell into Tayuya's genjutsu thrown by Kabuto, and Kurenai fell into Itachi's genjutsu. Here we are talking about two ninjas who are experts in genjutsu, who specialized all their fighting style in the use of genjutsu, but they are not immune to genjutsu either. Even if it is someone much weaker than you throwing the genjutsu, you are still susceptible to fall. Because Itachi also fell into Kurenai's genjutsu, except that being a professional in this area, he managed to break it and send it back to her, but he fell into it. And that's where the main point comes in. Falling into a genjutsu is one thing. Now, if you're going to get out of it, that's a completely different thing. So the question we should be asking is, could Goku get out of a genjutsu? For those who think Goku or any of the Z warriors are just a bunch of muscular idiots, they are completely wrong. These guys don't just lift weights at the gym, they also undergo extensive mental training. Goku himself has been fighting illusions since he was a kid. He had to face many people who used illusions in his life. In fact, one of the things the Z fighters did to train was simulate real battles in their minds, and this made their minds stronger and stronger. In Dragon Ball, we saw tough guys like Chiaotzu and Babidi, who launched attacks that controlled people's minds. There was even the case of Majin Vegeta, who is basically Vegeta being controlled by Babidi, but even so, Vegeta managed to resist that mental control, which surely required enormous psychic strength. Besides, Vegeta is also an example of a Saiyan who can control his Ozaru form, which is a completely crazy and uncontrollable form, but with mental training, Vegeta managed to master that form. So the people in Dragon Ball have all the conditions to get out of an illusion, but in my opinion, the biggest problem with a genjutsu is precisely realizing that you're in one. Although I believe Goku could get out of a genjutsu, it would only happen if he realized he had fallen into one. That's because genjutsu alters your perception of time and space and makes you see and feel what the user wants. Sometimes just a small change in your perception is enough, like when Itachi trapped Deidara in a genjutsu. Deidara thought he was doing great, but in the end, it was all a genjutsu. If the user creates an illusion where everything is different, like Tayuya's illusions, then Goku would probably notice it and could free himself immediately. But when we bring someone like Itachi to the table, who subtly changes things that are happening so the enemy doesn't suspect they've fallen into an illusion, then it's more complicated. And a disadvantage of not having chakra is that sensor ninjas can feel their own chakra disturbed when they are in a genjutsu. But since Goku doesn't have chakra, he wouldn't be able to feel that. Also, even this perception of having disturbed energy can be manipulated by the genjutsu user. Deidara trained his eye to recognize genjutsu from the Sharingan, but for those who have zero knowledge about Sharingan and genjutsu, like the Dragon Ball universe, it's not easy, And there are still genjutsus like shisuis that manipulate you without you realizing, and without giving you any opportunity to suspect you're being manipulated. This would be very useful against these guys. Anyway, to sum it up, let's get to the verdict. Goku and all the people from Dragon Ball could really fall into a genjutsu, but most of them could get out of the simpler genjutsus and even some stronger ones. But if they get caught in a genjutsu that alters perception, I think they'd be in trouble with genjutsus from people like Itachi, Shisui, Madara, Sasuke, and Kaguya. They probably wouldn't be able to escape. But anyway, what do you think? What's your opinion? Comment below because I want to know.